Welcome to the Bitcoin mining meetup at the Space. I was hoping that would work. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate you. I am Tatum, and I am with Compass Mining, and this is the Compass Mining Bitcoin mining meetup. And we have two. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I'm streaming this, and I just heard my own voice, and it freaked me out. Okay, we're good now. Yeah, say hey to the live stream, everyone. Hey, live stream. We are currently live on X at Space Denver. How many of you, is this the first time at the Space? Okay, sweet. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. The Space is a member-run Bitcoin community hub right here in Denver, Colorado. And we have events like this all the time. I'll go over some of the other events that we're doing in the future at the end of this slideshow. But if you're ever in Denver, come check us out. We are, 83 members strong. And we just had our first anniversary. So we've been doing this for a whole year now. We've been in this building. So big shout out to the Space crew. A few things to go over first. There is raffle tickets, and either Kendall or Ryan has them. I don't know. Oh, Ryan has them. If you didn't get a raffle ticket, be sure to grab one. Did everyone get one? If not, Ryan, come find them. But also, just be honest, guys. Please be honest. Curtis was like, hey, please try to make this fair. And I was like, I'll do what I can. So please, this is for Curtis, if anyone. But the agenda, going to go through our usual welcome and announcements, do some hot mining jobs, and then we'll go right into the mining discussion with our two guests here, Mechanic and Matt Hill. We'll go into introductions for them later. But oh my gosh, that is one big listing of jobs in the mining industry. This is Compass Mining's listings right now. We are currently hiring. This does look like a lot. It's actually a little different, but there's two positions in Denver that are open, warehouse technician, and then also the regional site operations manager. We're looking for a hybrid position for that. That's why there's so many listings on there. But also, if you know anyone in the Texas areas, you can see the locations there. West Texas area. Let them know. You can find all of our information on Compass Mining's LinkedIn. And we have several people from Compass tonight here that would be happy to talk to you about it if that's something that you want to learn about. So without further ado, let's introduce our amazing guest. We have Bitcoin Mechanic of Ocean and Matt Hill of Start9 Labs. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. We'll start out, Mechanic, give me the brief 30-second overview of who you are and what Ocean is.
I don't know who I am. Ocean is, it's supposed to return us to Satoshi era miner when there wasn't really a big difference between nodes and mining. They're supposed to be the same thing, kind of. Instead, they got separated, and this is on the verge of feeding back, it sounds like. But yeah, they're supposed to be the same thing. It's not supposed to be like miners are here and nodes are here and they fight wars every 4 years or something. But so Ocean makes it so that miners run nodes again. They actually have a reason to. Because it's been super crazy setting miners up with nodes for the first time. And they're like, I run $100 million worth of mining equipment and I mine on the Bitcoin network, and I've never run a node because I've never had a reason to. That's insane. So Ocean was designed to fix that, to just move one part of what the mining process is to the miner and make it their choice what goes in the blockchain, and then you don't have the same vector for centralization, well, censorship attacks on Bitcoin, basically. Because if you want to censor blocks via miners on Foundry or Antpool or whatever, you just go to those pools and say your templates have to look like this, and the miners have no say in it. If you want to mess with Ocean blocks, then you have to go and find all our miners, and we don't know who any of those are, and you would have to look up, all you have is Bitcoin addresses. So it's just a project to make Bitcoin censorship resistant credibly again, rather than just yell at miners if they start OFAC complying or something.
Mechanic, you just summarized like half of the slide that you were supposed to talk about, but we'll expand on that. But thank you for being here, and thank you for that wonderful explanation. We'll go deeper into that. We're actually talking about centralization and block templates tonight. So, and then we have Matt Hill of Start9. Matt, give me the rundown of who you are and what Start9 is.
So I'm a software developer by trade, co-founder of Start9, the company. And what Start9 does, first and foremost, is we are the developers of an open source operating system called StartOS that is supposed to make it easier for normal people to run self-hosted open source software services, including Bitcoin nodes. And that's sort of where we come into this, and things like Datum to do block template construction. But yeah, I mean, we're not a mining company, right? We are tangential and supplementary to the efforts of decentralized mining, but we're not technically a mining company.
They will not host your miners, no matter how hard you twist his arm. So I want to start out with going into centralization because I've talked about this personally a lot in the past year or so. We had this research come out where Antminer or Antpool is Bitmain, I guess, is white labeling pools. So what is the centralization issue with mining? Because it looks, by that graph, pretty decentralized, but why is it not, and what's the issue with that mechanic?
The problem is everyone sleepwalked into a proof of stake kind of system where the only reason that Foundry and Antpool won't unilaterally 51% attack the network and gatekeep what makes it in the blockchain is because why would they bite the hand that feeds them? But that is the essence of that's the rationale for Ethereum switching to proof of stake, right? It's like, why would anyone with a lot of stake in the network attack it? And you would certainly destroy Bitcoin a lot if you were to be a big centralized miner and reorg the chain and start pulling transactions out of it, right? But the problem is that it's not always your choice. If you're in a position, what is it you say? Everything can and will be deputized, right? Even if you're not an arm of the state, they can just come to you if you're Foundry and say, like, we don't like this, and your blocks need to look like that. And given the nature of all the miners that point at Foundry, they're probably not going to have an issue with that. This is not 2015. In 2015, I think it was, or 2016, a pool got too big. It was able to 51% attack the network. It was called Ghash. And all of the miners, because they were Bitcoiners back then, rather than giant suit coiners, they all left the pool because they were like, this is a risk to Bitcoin. Nowadays, if a pool got that big and it was asked to do some sort of don't process Bitcoin transactions that originate from Russia or Iran or something, and they put that kind of pressure on Foundry, not only would that probably fly, it would also be probably heralded as a good thing by most of the miners that use a pool like Foundry. It's fully KYC. There's inspections all the time. There's nothing cypherpunk about it at all. And it's the biggest pool consistently. And then you have the Chinese equivalent, which is, well, Antpool and Friends, or Antmain as I call it, because it's just, they make all the hardware too. So they're not as big a pool unless you incorporate like 10. So like, you're looking at SEC pool, Luxor, Binance pool, Brains pool, BTC.com, all of those little pools that give the illusion of decentralization are all just Bitmain. And they don't make any effort to hide that. All of their Stratum work looks identical to the work you get from Antpool. It just has a different name in the Coinbase. But that's an illusion of decentralization. And it's horrible because it keeps the entire industry under the foot of Bitmain. Because Bitmain, we know, make the vast majority of the hardware. They also don't want to look as big as they really are, so Antpool is bigger than that, but they get to not spook the network by having all these proxy pools. And then, because miners are so fiat addicted, they all want FPPS payouts as well, which means they want to get paid consistently from a random source, the Bitcoin blockchain. And that addiction is unhealthy because it means they make a demand from pools who are unable to meet that without going to a parent with a big pocket. So all of those pools I just mentioned, they all offer FPPS because miners naively just demand that now. And those pools all in turn around to Bitmain and say, we need to borrow money because we just had a bad 24-hour period. We didn't hit any blocks and our miners are owed $30 million or something. So they have to borrow it. So Bitmain now funds it all. They're turning into a kind of IMF style thing. And what really hurts about it is they don't even care. They're like an AI company now. They don't even pay any attention to Bitcoin, and they just run the whole space. And they can, that's the China centralization, and then you have the US centralization with Foundry. And between them, they just control everything that goes in the blockchain. They receive everything that comes out. I'll blow our own trumpet a bit here. Ocean pays miners out directly in the blocks we find. We're the only pool that does that. It requires real-time tracking, and that's just scary for people that don't know how to do it. It's genuinely a scary thing to do, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can overpay people. Most pools, they pay themselves every block, and then they figure out once every 24 hours, here's how much we owe people, and they double check it, triple check it. Ocean blocks, we just are calculating in real time, and that's miners paying themselves. When we first started, and we hit our first block where we paid out 75 people, we doubled the amount of people receiving fresh coins out of the Bitcoin blockchain versus the entire rest of the network, because all freshly generated coins by Foundry get paid to Foundry, not any miners. Same with Antpool, same with Via, same with F2Pool. And there were about 60 addresses since Ocean launched where all freshly mined Bitcoins had gone. And Ocean bumped that up to like 150 with its first big block. So that's the whole point, is miners are now interacting directly with Bitcoin. They're choosing what goes into the chain. They're receiving freshly mined coins straight out of it. And all Ocean does is be this sort of transparent coordination layer where if someone comes and sticks a gun to our head, we just laugh at them. We're like, you know what we can really do? We can mess with people's payouts for the next 30 hours. Have fun, have at it. Like, you need to find our miners if you really want to do it. And if you knock us offline, they'll still carry on mining. And still, if they find a block, they are going to tell the chain about it. And it will be valid and processed. And that's what a mining pool is supposed to be. And it's not supposed to be like a payday lender for miners that never want to deal with Bitcoin and just rent hash rate to some sort of big centralized platform.
And you can't be coerced into doing KYC and identifying the miners? Does that come up?
I mean, it's a tightrope. We never even talk about KYC. There's 3 co-founders of Ocean. One of them is, he's called Bitcoin Lawyer on Twitter, and he's the most based lawyer. So 2 of his credentials, I will celebrate this guy because good lawyers are like, who's heard of this? So first off, during COVID, he sued a bunch of state governors for COVID restrictions and got them to like lift mandates of crap they were doing at schools, forcing kids to wear masks and all that stuff. Another thing he did was a bunch of pro-life work as well. So he did a bunch of work with Luke, and then he was a Bitcoiner too, and he set up Ocean, incorporated in Wyoming, took advantage of the regulatory sandbox, and so many clever decisions were made about how we could make a non-custodial. I'm not going to say KYC free, because even just using that term in the context of Bitcoin paints a target on our back. So there's no mention of stuff like that. We just say we're permissionless. That's all Ocean is. We don't know who anyone is. There are no accounts. There is no mention of the United States dollar anywhere on the Ocean website. There is no ability for users to set thresholds, because we don't want to be turned into a custodian or anything that looks like a bank account. So that's why some of the clunkiness from Ocean that drives people crazy. I'm like, try setting up a Bitcoin mining pool with no accounts and no driver's licenses or anything like that in North America, and do it the way we do it, and then come back to me with like little complaints about how you can't configure thresholds and things like that. I'm like, trust me, try and do it. Like, it's hard. Like, even like wallet software abandoned America because they're like, we can't figure out how to do it. Like, try setting up a mining pool. Like, this guy, genuinely a genius. I'm so impressed with it.
That's interesting to know that he was so y'all took advantage of the regulatory sandbox of Wyoming to not evade, but just not even worry about like setting it up as other pools have.
Yeah, other pools they all voluntarily classify themselves as a custodian. And this was when we launched, we said we're a non-custodial mining pool, and people were like, well, like if I set up a BitAxe and point it to Ocean and mine 3 Satoshis, you're not going to pay me that. And we're like, no, because we can't. Bitcoin doesn't allow that. And they're like, that's custody. And I'm like, no, that's not what the word means. It's one of those words that's used wrongly by Bitcoiners universally, just as a euphemism for control. Ocean has a stash of Bitcoins that was earned by miners that we haven't been able to pay yet. But this is akin to a taxi driver who you owe $15 to $16 to $17. You're not a custodian of those funds. It's not how it works. You just haven't paid him yet. And that is the entire structure for how we work. There's some legal, this is a bit of a gameplay, right? Definitionally, we're walking a tightrope here. But that's technically how it works. So that's why voluntarily saying you're a custodian means, well, that's it. Now everyone that mines with us needs to upload a picture of their passport and their butthole and any other, just that's how it works. So you can't be a custodian, because if you are a custodian, then you're also, Foundry is a bank. They are regulated the same way a bank is, because they have other people's money and they need, that there's regulation that goes along with that. We don't really do that. There's no money here. We're just Bitcoin, bro. There's nothing to do with money, right?
It's technology. Well, on that point, obviously you've shown how Ocean's completely different in various ways, but what is Ocean doing to combat centralization, and how is that? I remember that was a big talking point with the launch, and I was very eager to learn about it because I had seen all the white labeling. So what is Ocean doing for that decentralization? And I guess we can also go into Datum, which, by the way, is not Tatum. But I did go by Datum Turnup for a little bit. It was a fun little 2 weeks.
I was disappointed when you stopped. So I'll try and do it real quick. So mining is, there's a whole bunch of things that go on with mining. The bit where there's like a hash board rolling SHA-256 and producing, showing nonces and proving work, that's called hashing. It's one part of what Bitcoin mining is, and it's synonymous with being a Bitcoin miner is doing that. But it's only one component of it. It is the proof of work part, it is the unfakeable part, but it's not all of it. Bitcoin mining begins with running a Bitcoin node, which 99% of miners have never done. Syncing up to the network, validating that you're on the most valid, the most proof of work, the most cumulative proof of work, validating you're all the way at the end of it. On that premise, populating a mempool, deciding what the next block should look like. That's called producing a block template, which is what the combination of a Tatum node and a Bitcoin node do. Then you have a thing called a Stratum server, which is speaking the language, which is what a Bitcoin mining bit of hardware actually speaks, is the Stratum protocol. You have to have a Stratum server, which is what pools run, but what Ocean gets miners to do, that generates work for the mining hardware to actually roll and say, okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try that, and solve a block, right? And then it proves that it's done that work, it returns it back to the Stratum server, and if by chance it rolls something that is above the arbitrary number provided by the Bitcoin network, aka the difficulty requirement, then that's a block. And the node tells the Bitcoin network, I have a new block. And then the Bitcoin network, over the course of 1.5 seconds, grabs that block and it populates throughout, it floods through, and everyone says, right, there's a new block, and all other miners start building on top of that. That's the entire mining process. All most miners have ever done is buy some god-awful piece of machinery from Bitmain, plug in an Ethernet cable, type in some credentials to point to someone else's Stratum server, which is sitting on top of someone else's Bitcoin node, and grab work from them. And then they roll, and prove that they're doing work. Nothing hits network difficulty typically, and then the pool says, well, you did this much work, so you're owed that much money, and I'll go and deal with the blockchain. And so all they are, I started just saying they're hashes. They're not miners, they're hashes. And Bob from Barefoot Mining was like, I want to be a miner again. All I am now is a hasher, because Foundry is a miner. Antpool is a miner. The only aspect of mining they don't do is hashing. So all Ocean is doing is it's saying, we want you to do the rest of it as well. All we want to do is coordinate reward splits with other miners. That's the only function of a pool. We want you to contribute work together and split payouts. That's what pooling definitionally is. And Ocean is really the only mining pool there is, because Foundry is not a mining pool. They are not splitting rewards between miners. They are a solo miner that is buying hash rate from a bunch of miners that just point their machines at them and help them. But you don't even know if you found a block. You might have been mining on Brains or Luxor for the last 5 years. You might have found blocks. You're never even going to know about that because you're completely divorced from the blockchain. And just so you know this isn't all ideological, there's a massive financial cost to having a bunch of middlemen between you and the blockchain. If someone says, I'm going to take a random source, which is the blockchain, the next block might be 10 seconds, it might be an hour from now, and I'm going to make that nice, steady, fixed, regular income for you, that person is going to take a huge cut because they're taking a huge risk. Ocean doesn't do that. If Ocean pays a lot more than other mining pools, and the payment you must accept for that is irregular income. That's how you know I'm not up here selling crap, right? There's no free lunch. Ocean is way more revenue and it's way more variance. So that's why it's not a free lunch. If we don't find a block today, you get zero money today. But when we do find blocks, we're not taking on any of the risk. You're doing it and you get rewarded for that. So you get to be a miner again. That's the main purpose of Ocean.
What's really cool on the Ocean dashboard is they do have a section that says blocks found with a little praying emoji. Mine still says 0, unfortunately, but one day.
How long does it say until your first block? It gives you
we don't have to talk about that part, because I don't have that much hash rate, all right? And do y'all still give the stickers if anyone claims that they block?
If you find a block, let us know. We'll send you a sticker.
And you could write the block that it found,
And like you'll pay yourself lots of Bitcoins. That's kind of how it works. We never send you Bitcoins. They get sent from the network itself. So Virgin Bitcoins are fun. I don't know if you've ever been paid coins with no input. That's fun. They're so rare that actually a lot of wallets don't understand it. So a lot of people that happened with Swan and it happened with Coinbase is my favorite. Because this company is named after.
They're named after the transaction they cannot receive. That's crazy.
So I don't know if any big Bitcoin trivia. When new coins are produced in a block, they have no input and they're unspendable for 100 network blocks. Because if I pay you some Bitcoin in a regular transaction and there's like a reorg, that transaction just becomes unconfirmed again. But the coins that it came from still exist because they're from some ancient block. Whereas if I mine a block and I pay myself 3.125 Bitcoins, and then that block gets reorged, those coins just never existed. We rewrote history. So that's why we wait 100 blocks for that block to get really, really deep in the chain. And a lot of wallets see a generation transaction or a Coinbase transaction, and they're like, we have no idea what these coins are, so they don't exist to us. And Coinbase did that, which is just so people email us and like, I got paid by you, but my money never showed up. And I'm like, all right, who are you using? And it's been a problem with River, it's been a problem with Coinbase, it's been a problem with Prime Trust stuff that Swan did.
That's actually crazy.
It was a problem with Foundation devices, like I'd say like 30%. When we kicked off Ocean, I'm like, this is going to be a problem. Like most wallets have never dealt with the fact that miners never get paid fresh coins because there's like 2 companies that get all of the fresh coins. And every single one of them fixed it quick when I messaged them. So none of them
You've
failed.
never had an
I'm very
angry
impressed with
Bitcoin
that.
mechanic in your DMs. Nothing's ever gotten done. Well, that's actually really interesting. I did not know about that, but it does make sense. We're going to come back to the datum once we hear from Matt a little bit. By the way, I want to commend Start9 for all their assets, their image assets on their website are like full resolution and transparent PNGs. Makes my life so much easier.
This is the only good thing about that company.
It's the only good thing about the website, that's for sure. Thing needs a refresh.
But as you can see, I first said Start9 is not a mining company, and Matt stated that. So Matt, can you give me a little more in-depth idea of what Start9 is, and then loop it into how this is related?
Yeah. So again, we make an operating system that is, think Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android. These are operating systems designed to, purpose-built to administer certain types of devices. So, Windows and Mac are designed to administer laptops and desktops, iOS and Android, mobile devices and tablets. And then you have Linux, which is this kind of oddball, right, where it can be used for a laptop, but it could also be used for a server. And if it's used for a laptop, you're above the hood. You're looking at the GUI, the graphical interface. And if you're using it for a server, you're under the hood. You're on the command line. And this is technically true with Windows and Mac as well, except nobody uses those to administer servers, or at least very few people do. So Linux is the traditional server OS, but you have to go under the hood to use it, and that requires skill and time, quite a bit of both, in fact. So we set out to lower the barrier to entry to owning and administering a personal server by coming up with a novel Linux distro that is not only brings the command line experience to the GUI, but actually kind of re-abstracts some of the basic principles of the applications running on the server to be more coherent to a normal person, right? We abstracted away a lot of the more Linux sysadmin network engineering complexity required to understand a server into more standard and friendly terms and buttons on the screen. So that was our goal, is to create this operating system. Why? Is to get more people running servers. You can think of a server roughly, right, if you are very unfamiliar with the term or what they do, you can think of it sort of as a private cloud. So right now, a lot of, you open up your phone, you open up an app, that app is connecting to a server that is owned and operated by somebody that you do not know, and who absolutely treats you as a, your data is an asset, and your wallet is a subscription opportunity. You are productized.
There's a sign upstairs that says there's no such thing as a cloud, it's just someone else's computer. Everyone should remember that, okay?
So all of Earth right now, by and large, is operating under what we call the cloud computing paradigm, where we're all just connecting to third-party servers that are owned and operated by giant tech companies that themselves are beholden to governments in various jurisdictions, and it's all very dystopian, right? There's mass surveillance capabilities, there's censorship capabilities, the costs go up and up. If one of their servers get hacked, then everyone who was connected to the server and had their data on the server is also hacked, even though you weren't the target, right? You're just collateral damage in a cyber warfare that you've never opted into explicitly. And it's just a big problem. And we think it was a giant mistake that it will be viewed as such in retrospect by the future generations as a silly little mistake that humanity made at the dawn of the 21st century when we did not understand information technology and how to use it to create a prosperous human society. And the fix to this, unfortunately, was to kind of rebuild the whole paradigm, right? So the paradigm started with 70s, roughly, okay, there's a long history here, but with like Windows, right, and the early Apple computers. And the way that they did that was an operating system, right? They created a point-and-click graphical interface that enabled a normal person to administer a personal computer, and the personal computing revolution was born. And from there, it went through, networking to the internet, eventually now to IoT devices like cameras and drones and doorbells and artificial intelligence now. And it's all built on this backbone of cloud computing, which is a totally intermediated and custodied model of computing. So if you want a disintermediated, sovereign, private model of computing, you got to start where they started, which is the operating system. But in this case, it's an operating system for a server. So we've done that. We still have a long way to go with it. It's still technically in beta. It's on its fourth major rewrite, but it works. It works well. We have many thousands of people around the world using it effectively who otherwise would not have either been able to or had the time to administer a server. So sort of, checkbox one is partially checked. Where we go from there is we branch out into routers and IoT devices and all the rest. And we hope to eventually create the same type of experience that the sci-fi movies predict and Apple wants and Google wants, except without them involved, right? You should have humanoid robots and cameras and all the other things and all powered by artificial intelligence that are 100% totally under your sovereign, private, personal control. And we are trying to help make that possible. That's our mission. What this has to do with Bitcoin is that servers, right, they're designed to run certain kinds of software that are designed to run 24/7, 365 on a constantly connected device. That's what differentiates a server application from a client application, at least in part, is that the server application is designed to be always up and always connected. Otherwise, it's pretty useless. And so one form of server application that has grown in popularity in modern times is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin nodes. And we offer, arguably, one of the, if not the best and easiest way for a non-technical person to get started with a Bitcoin node. So if you want to run a Bitcoin node, we are a very good way to do that. And that isn't all we do, right? We're after the whole computing paradigm, but this is our user, right? This is our customer, this is our political base, it is our, and so we're Bitcoiners ourselves, and we sell to Bitcoiners, and we try to support Bitcoiners, and we think more nodes is better, and especially in recent times, we've seen a lot more demand for nodes go up, and we've been really struggling to keep up with that demand, but it's a good thing ultimately. It's acting as a good basis for us upon which to grow the paradigm even larger. So, secondly, in addition to a Bitcoin node, you can run Bitcoin adjacent services very, very easily. So things like a Lightning node, for payments. There's wallet applications that connect to either the Bitcoin node or the Lightning node. Things like BTC Pay Server if you want to run a self-hosted e-commerce site and accept Bitcoin and Lightning for payment. Setting up a point-of-sale e-commerce website that accepts Bitcoin and Lightning to sell your, coffee or whatever is minutes on StartOS. I don't mean like 3 minutes. I mean like, maybe a few hundred minutes, but you can do it. So maybe I should have said hours, but minutes sounds better.
Comparatively.
But you can do it, and with the next version of StartOS coming very, very soon, you can do it even easier, and you can do it on the public internet instead of like Tor and all this weird stuff. We're giving first-class support to like real domains, like .com domains and stuff like that. So it's going to take it to a wider market. And then the last thing that you can do, which is where I think Tatum wants to take this, is that you can run something like a Datum server or a public pool server, which allows you to, on the device in your home, do block template construction. And you can then choose, right, to, you got to be mining first, okay? Well, hashing, right? You got to be hashing. So let's say you have a little BitAxe in your home or even something bigger and more powerful. That's producing hash. And you can directly point that thing, like Mechanic was saying, to some third-party pool and just sell your hash. Okay, you can do that. Or you can point that hash to the Datum server running on your StartOS device and create block templates. And then you can send those to something like Ocean. Okay, and that way, if you find a block, right, if you solve the proof of work and you find a block, then it's your block, the transactions that you selected, that will make it into the blockchain. Furthermore, and this is the extreme end of the hopes and dreams of mining, is that you don't even send your block templates to Ocean, right? You just submit them to the network if you solve a block. Now this is called solo mining, and it's basically like playing the lottery. So if you choose Ocean as your pool, you're choosing the block templates, but you're sharing the payout. And if somebody else solves a block, you get a piece of their payout, and if you solve a block, they get a piece of your payout. But if you want the whole payout, you don't have to share it at all. You can just perform the work locally, construct the block template locally, you find it, you submit it to the network, and you get the entire Coinbase deposited directly to whatever wallet address you want that you've programmed into Datum. So it's like playing the lottery, and this has become very popular. Humans like gambling, and they like the lottery, especially when the worst thing that happens to you if you lose is that you spent $3 of electricity and you contributed hash power to the network, which is good for the network. So if you lose, you're still winning, right? It wasn't like a costly loss. You're still kind of donating and contributing. It's a very, very small amount, but you are. And if you win, it's like a massive payout of KYC-free sats. So we're seeing a lot of people play the lottery using these little BitAxe miners connected to Datum servers running on Start9 devices. And that's where we come in. Like if you want to do that, if you want to solo mine and play the lottery, we are arguably, one of the best and easiest ways to do that.
This is all free software too. I don't think you mentioned StartOS is free, so you can buy servers from them, and it's a good way to help them stay on their feet. But Datum is also free software which runs on it, so all this is free and open source.
Yeah, if you have a computer at home, a mini PC, an old laptop, an old desktop tower, whatever, you can just go online, download StartOS and flash it to the computer and be up and running with zero loss of functionality whatsoever. There's no like free tier. You are 100% running the same thing that everyone is running had you bought a server from us. So our business model relies entirely on convenience, customer support, and community.
I wanted to, you kind of touched into this, but I wanted to ask on both of y'all's opinions, if there were some Bitcoiner who was like, just woke up one day, is like, you know what, I'm gonna start mining and building my own templates like immediately. Obviously, Start9 plus Datum would be a great, initial getting into that. How hard would it be? I know there's different ways, like you said. You can order a server pure or server one from y'all, but you can also get an old computer, and then from there, like would it be worth putting a pointing a BitX to that datum server, or would you recommend, an actual larger miner or something like that? How hard is the barrier of entry to get into building your own block templates with, datum servers in Start9?
I think it's unfamiliar. Like, it's just new for most people. It's not hard. Once you know how to do it, you're like, this is incredibly easy. I can do it in 5 minutes. But it's also just not something anyone's done before. Like, most people have never typed in a local IP address into their browser. Most people have never done that. And browsers don't like it. Browsers keep being like, what are you doing? This is an insecure website.
I don't know if anyone's ever tried to go into a WhatsMiner UI, but you always have to say, yes, I promise I'm trying to go to it.
I just found out recently in Chromium, if you type "this is unsafe," like that allows you to power through some of the warnings where it doesn't give you the button to say proceed anyway, even though this is definitely I'm being hacked, even though I'm just connecting to like that device I can see on the table over there. Like,
awesome.
it's unnatural and
century.
it's incredibly easy to do, but it's also unlike anything most people have ever done. But I've written extensive walkthroughs and guides, like explaining how to do this. And I used to work at Start9, and they pride themselves on being really good at support. And that whole attitude of support being an opportunity, like this weird thing I learned was like, if something is better, if something breaks, and people reach out to you and you help them through it, then they love you. Then like you have a fan forever because they're like, that company's just good people. I want to work with them. And it is like literally a net positive than if your software just worked better, right? Like, so I love it when people reach out and support to Ocean. I don't get it. Like, my Lightning payment is failing because, I mean, don't get me started on this. Like, just, dude. But it's always an opportunity to speak with people and help them, and also just show them respect, right? Like, every person that reached out when I worked at Start9, it's always just like, this is maximum respect to this person. They are accepting a challenge. They've never run a server before. They want to disintermediate. They don't want their life to be run by Google or Apple or something like that. They're doing it themselves. So it's just all that mutual respect right off the bat. And this is the thing, the Datum was like, every single miner that wanted to jump on it, they have like, so many of them have tiny amounts of hash rate, right? Like 20,000 years to find a block with a BitX on average, right? And
It has happened.
That was at last week's difficulty. Now it's like 24,000 years. Like, so like, and I just see them doing it, and they're all the ones running. And occasionally, like about a month ago, we had a guy mine a data-free block. So 0 non-financial activity in the block, and he did it with like half a terahash or something. And it's like, and he posted on Twitter like, anyone want to ask me if my filters worked? Like, just, oh, it was so sweet. But this is like, and he made that block himself. Like, he made that. And then, so when like these, I'm going off topic here, but when like giant pro spam apologists and stuff want to like yell at him, I'm like, that is the quintessential Bitcoiner. Some guy at home with a fuck you attitude that built a block, got lucky and broadcast it to the network and earned like 800 sats. Like, from an entire block he mined. Like, I just like, this is crazy. And why would anyone bash that? Like, he decided what belongs in the blockchain. He did it. It's like Giga Chad material. And it's so when they reach out and support, I'm just like, I'm happy to help you. Like, I feel sorry for people that work in like Apple tech support where someone with an iPhone is complaining that it broke. There's no like mutual love there. It's just like, you know.
That's 100% obligation at that point.
Yeah.
Matt, like from the point of wanting to run StartOS, I know that there's blockchain syncing time. Like, how quick does it take from, okay, I'm going to make that decision to get StartOS and run a node to actually, with that datum server pointing your hash rate to that?
Pretend you're on 040.
Yeah, on which, we're like right on the eve of a major release that changes things quite a bit, but I'll use the one that's been out in the wild.
Oh, this is
for a
cool.
couple of years.
Cool. You get free alpha when you come to the space for the Bitcoin mining meetup. Somehow.
To be fair,
about
we've been
Start9.
saying that for a year.
Okay, well, soon,
But
TM.
this time,
This time is
yeah,
different.
this time we're really almost there. So yeah, it really depends on who you are. If you know nothing, right, you really just have no idea. You're almost computer illiterate. It's going to be difficult, right? Because not only are you using a computer, but you're using it in ways that you wouldn't use another computer. And so you can get really, if you're not brave, right, and you're not a clicker, you could just get stuck and you could give up. And we've seen that, but it's rare because we did try to emulate the experiences people are accustomed to as best we could, but it can be challenging. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're a super experienced Linux sysadmin, you're also going to struggle because you're used to having to do all these things that you don't have
Oh
to
man,
do
they gave me a GUI.
on
What?
Start OS. And these are the worst people in support, by the way, because they're just like, I did the certificate, and I'm like, where in the guide did it say to do that? Like, you're just completely off track here. And so we really love the, what do you call them, the midwits or something? The
No,
people
no,
who are
no,
like
no, no,
right
no.
in the middle, you know? Like, plebs, we love the plebs. Like the people who can follow instructions, right? Like they get it, they know how to use a computer, they can follow instructions. If they get stuck, they ask for help. They don't just smash click or they don't rage quit. You know, they follow. It's like putting IKEA furniture together is what I equate it to quite often. It's like if you can just follow the step-by-step instructions, I guarantee you can put this furniture together. Same thing with our whole system, right? And we try to create guides that are accurate and up to date, and then we back it with humans who are there to help if you get stuck. And we take this very, very seriously, as he mentioned. And you know, customer support at Start9 is sacred. It is this is all we have, guys. We make open source software that we give away, and the only competitive advantage we have is the convenience we provide, the customer support we provide, and the culture and community that we create. And so, as Lex mentioned, I just want to follow up with it a little bit. We don't intentionally make things that break, okay? Like, I've preached this to people all the time, where it's like, you should be really happy when something that you built doesn't work quite right and somebody complains, because it is a golden opportunity to make somebody fall in love with you, right? I learned this from my brother, who I hope never watches this stream, who fucks up all the time, okay? He's late to meetings, he overfills his plate, he just screws up a lot. He's brilliant and he does a lot, but he messes up a lot. And people love him. And it took me a while to realize why. It's because he was really, really good at apologizing and making it right. So he'd screw up and somebody would be rage, you know, they're angry at him. And then he'd be like, you're so right. Here's what I'm going to do. It's like going to a restaurant and they burn your food and you're pissed because you're super hungry. But then the manager comes out and is just awesome. It's like, this is unusual. We strive to do this as a, you know, here's a complimentary appetizer that we're going to do while we wait for your food. Then we're going to do it perfectly, and then we're going to comp it. And you leave there, and you're like, they are amazing. You're far more likely to leave a review for that experience in restaurant than you would be had you just gone in and got a great meal. So it doesn't mean that you should mess up on purpose. It just means that you shouldn't be afraid to mess up, because you're going to, because everyone's fallible. And if you're trying to do hard things, you're going to screw up. And every time you do, you should see it as an opportunity to build your brand. And that's how we've built our brand, is by screwing up and then making it right.
I'll add as well that, like, some of the software you're running on this is actually really opposite. I'm like, because we're saying it's for like the middle people or whatever. The midwit meme does not apply here, by the way. There are no midwits using Start9.
It was the wrong term.
Like,
of course there's not. It was.
But the point is, like, he was talking about running a Bitcoin node, like it's not necessarily a server thing, but you can run a Bitcoin node on your laptop, right? That's pretty much like any normal application. You just go on bitcoin.org and download Bitcoin Knots. Definitely download Bitcoin Knots. And then you double click on it and install it and it works. But here's the reason StartOS kills. Because now you have a Bitcoin node, great. What do you use it for? Nothing, because it doesn't do anything. You need to connect other stuff on top of it. And if you just downloaded a Bitcoin node on your Windows laptop and now you want to connect a Lightning node to it, you'll be in ChatGPT for the next 2 weeks, and it still won't frickin' work at the end of it. And
You're absolutely right.
This, I believe, was actually one of the main motivations for you and Aiden starting it. They're like, we're developers, and we can't figure out how to make LND talk to a Bitcoin node. This is like, you know, grandma with a printer. It's like I'm pressing print, and it doesn't do anything. It was like that. So they built a whole operating system on that premise, and I've watched every technical developer as well. Like, it's kind of a meme now that core developers don't run Bitcoin, and Lightning developers certainly don't run Lightning nodes. Like, I know plenty of them that are just using Phoenix. And ultimately, when I showed them StartOS, they're like, wow, it's amazing. Like, I would actually use my own software with this, because I just click on Core Lightning and press the install button, and then it tells me, wait, okay, needs config, click save, and now it's actually just working. Wow. Like, that's it. It didn't take you a week to do it, and then they actually use their own software, and like, it's perfectly acceptable for like advanced users to do it, because it's just a waste of time. Like, I tried to do it all in Proxmox, set up LXCs, got a Bitcoin node, got an Electrum server, all that stuff. I got about 50% of it working, and then when it came to the Lightning node, I literally spent 2 days trying to make LND talk to a Bitcoin node. It was like, I can't do this. I'm going back to StartOS. And like, I'm not super technical, but I'm definitely deeper in this than most people. And I'm like, if I can't do this, this is A, what a LND doing, but B, like when it's never going to realistically get anywhere unless someone does what Start9 does. So I'm celebrating them for it.
Thanks. That's nice.
This was an unintentional extreme commercial for Start9 at the mining meetup, but luckily someone in
Was
here
it,
is
though?
going home with a Start9 server pure.
Why isn't it up here? Oh, it's there.
Yeah, so we got over here.
So how do we decide who wants that? Is that like whoever puts their hand
Yeah,
up
the
first?
first person whose hand I see. No, we got raffle tickets that we'll do, but first I do want to get into audience Q&A. I know that we covered a lot, but we are coming closer to time. But if anyone has any questions, go ahead.
I wish I were a midwit, but I'm unfortunately not. I'm a Start9 kind of pleb, and I can echo, not even echo, I've had the experience. These guys do an incredible job of walking you through. So anybody who's like not technical, I'm definitely not technical.
Yeah.
But my question is, when you say that you can create your own templates,
Wait, hold that thought. We have an audience, Mike. Thanks, Zach.
Is there a switch on that?
Yeah. When you say you can, mine at home and create your own templates, I'm envisioning down there like on my spreadsheet, well, I don't like this transaction. I like that. But really what you're doing is you're just telling the software, hey, include transactions that are in my mempool and also that are monetary transactions. I mean, there's got to be some automated way of doing this. It's not like you're sitting there picking
Yeah.
out-
So
Yeah.
the language around it is confusing and unintuitive. So what you're doing is you're configuring a Bitcoin node in a way where it will have a mempool that reflects what it is you want to relay around the network. So
And mine.
yeah,
Your mine.
but that mempool. So a Bitcoin node has like RPC commands you issue to it, right? You can say, get me a new Bitcoin address, or get me the block height of the blockchain, or whatever. There's an RPC called get block template. So what Datum does is it just talks to your Bitcoin node, it has the RPC credentials, and it sends out a command, get block template. And then the node says, here's a block template. And then Datum makes work for the miner on that premise, because Bitcoin nodes aren't Stratum servers. You can't tell an Antminer to talk to a Bitcoin node. You need a Stratum server in the middle. The Stratum server requests a template from the node that will be populated with whatever's in its mempool. But you can do, like, supposing you want to open a Lightning channel and it's been a high fee environment for 8 months and you really, really just don't want to pay for this thing. Maybe it's for your kid and it's his like Lightning channel with 10 million sats in it that you want him to keep for the next 10 years or something. And you're a Bitcoin miner with like 5 petahash or something. And you're like, I'm going to find a block in the next year maybe. What you do in your Bitcoin node is another RPC command, prioritize transaction. So you open the Lightning channel, paying 1 sat per vbyte or whatever the lowest ball thing you can, well, you pay 0 because you're the one putting it in a block. It doesn't issue around the network. You don't bother broadcasting it because it's never going to get in a block. A miner's probably never going to include it. Then you finally find your block and it has your transaction in it, and now you've opened your Lightning channel, and you did that yourself. You put it in the chain.
So you're saying that you're basically creating criteria for block acceptance, but you can add like exceptions for that specific transaction, and when it, like if it pops up into the work that you're hashing to.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, it gets dicey because miners are probably going to start selling block space derivatives kinds of things. And barefoot mining, we'll talk about this a lot. Like, I'm a Bitcoin exchange. I use 10 megabytes of block space a month. I want to buy it from a big miner in advance because I don't want to get hit off guard with a high fee environment because some stupid NFT thing like takes off and now transaction fees went up 100x. So I want to buy in bulk at the beginning of a month. And a miner will sell that block space preemptively and say, I'm going to find that many blocks in the next month. I'll sell it to you at this rate per megabyte or whatever. When they do that, the customer gives the transactions directly. They can issue them to the network if they want, it's their prerogative. They're all valid transactions. But they give them to that miner specifically, and they have an expectation. In the next 24 hours, you're going to find 5 blocks. I want these transactions in there. That miner is telling the Bitcoin nodes they're running that generate the templates, prioritize this transaction ID, prioritize that transaction ID, prioritize that transaction ID, and they're displacing other transactions while they do that. This is what Mara does with Slipstream, right? They're just adding stuff to block templates, and then they hash and hash and hash and hash, and when they finally solve a block template, hit network difficulty, then all those transactions are in that block. I hope that gives you a rough idea. Go for it.
So let's say that I'm like a small operator, and run like 25 megawatts or so, and I work with a lot of what you call like suit coiners, right? You know, those are the stakeholders. Now, normally, those people wouldn't have direct exposure to the asset unless they had to for Bitcoin, right? They'd really rather just host it out and get a guaranteed return, right? So what is an argument I could make to them for, you know, running a node and switching over to a decentralized block template over like an FPPS, like white labeled scheme that gives them a guaranteed return?
Make more money. That's my favorite one for these guys.
They love
Less,
that.
You'd be amazed
less
how-
consistent,
issue.
but less consistent payouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're paying for variance reduction you don't need, is my usual thing. You are getting paid per second for your hash rate. Why? Can you wait 24 hours for your pay? Ocean finds a block every 11 hours. Can you wait 11 hours to get paid instead of insisting you get every minute? Because there are miners out there that pay an energy bill every 24 hours. And I get why they use FPPS. But if you're CleanSpark or something like that, I'm like, you guys, you don't need Foundry to pay you every single second for every single hash you submit. It's a waste of money. You're paying for an over-the-top product, and that creates such an enormous amount of, I guess, disintermediation, or no, intermediation is the term. So that's usually what I say. If you want to cut out the middleman, you can make more money, and you probably can afford to. Ocean was really difficult when we had 500 petahash, but we have 15 exahash now. So we find a lot of blocks now. And Bitcoin, as long as it can find you a decent amount in a 2-week period before the difficulty adjusts, then your pool is good enough. Bitcoin does set that as a kind of minimum, but you do need at least 10 exahash at current difficulty.
Yeah, they're not going to want to solo mine because they're never going to
No,
hit a block and
absolutely
they're never
not.
going to get a return. But they also don't need constant streamed payouts. So the middle ground there is to make more money with less frequent payouts. And the best way to do that, I believe, is Ocean. I mean, I don't know all the gritty financial
Well, then-
details of this stuff. It's not my world, but
There's a bunch of other benefits too. So when Ocean miners find a block, their name is what goes up on mempool space, not Ocean. So that's huge promo right there. And like a lot of miners jumped on Datum immediately. And the last one is we give a 50% discount on the pool fee. So it's only 1% fee if you're making your own blocks. That is just us doing that to make Bitcoin better. So we charge you 2% if you get us to make the block, and we charge you 1% if you make it yourself. And that was because in the last 15 years of talking about Stratum V2 and all this stuff, it was always, well, why would a miner take on the complexity of running a node and running a Stratum server? And we were like, well, we'll give you a 50% fee discount if you do. And that was pretty strong as an incentive, but I love our miners so much that I would say that even if we hadn't offered that, I think they would have all done it anyway. A lot of them just wanted the recognition of being part of decentralizing mining again. So I think there's a lot of strong incentives there. And I think Barefoot Mining published stats. The Ocean's payouts are all transparent. So
Yeah, Bob did a great write-up on the payout structures and the differences for them.
we come out consistently. In our first year, we came out 30% ahead of the next best pool, which was insane. That can't be expected to repeat because the way Ocean's payout model works in its first year, it kind of pays more, but it didn't, and we still paid that much more anyway. It's all kind of a mystery, actually. But really, the pool that is transparent with its payouts pays more than the pools that don't offer any transparency. There's no real big surprise here. Like, people are like, why are you paying out so much more? I don't believe you. I'm like, well, we have public stats. Like, if we are lying to you, we're insane. Like, there's nothing you can really, and they're like, prove it. And I'm like, well, I can't, because the comparisons is with data that's all private. I can't go to Luxor and be like, give us all your payout info, because they don't make it public. All I can say is that we pay out a lot more than Luxor. And if you're mining on, is anyone here mining but not on Ocean at the moment? Right, so go and look at your payouts over the last arbitrary time period, 90 days, whatever. Go and find a miner on Ocean. They need to have similar uptime to you, but you can extrapolate in any way. Find a miner with consistent uptime, I would say, no curtailment, just for simplicity. Don't worry about their hash rate. Maybe they have 1 petahash, maybe they have 1 exahash, and extrapolate. If you're on a 100 petahash miner and you find a guy on Ocean with 1 exahash, look at what they've been paid over the last time period and compare it with what you're getting at your pool. I'm just going to say, I guarantee we're paying a lot more, because we don't offer variance reduction in that capacity. We're not charging you for coins that don't exist. That's a very expensive product.
Right. Thank you.
The space block coming soon. Oh, yeah, thank you I wouldn't have thought of that. That would have been awful for everyone.
Hey guys.
How you doing?
Hi, Mechanic. My question is, it's interesting you're working on like a non-custodial model for mining pool payouts, and like one way you're kind of innovating is that you include a significant number of payout transactions on chain in the Coinbase output. And of course, like if somebody just has like a BitAxe and they earn 3 sats, you're not going to make a whole output in the Coinbase transaction for them, because that would be uneconomical, right? It would be, dust transactions are synonymous with uneconomical outputs, exactly. And so I was wondering, I think Bolt 12 payouts would probably map well to that. Have you?
Oh, we do that.
How is it? Yeah, I'm really curious. I've heard a little bit about this, and I want to know more about how that works, because
It doesn't.
well, because like what's weird is like are you
lightning's
like
broken.
splicing into like an always growing like Bolt 12 payout channel? Like, I mean, I don't know how that maps.
A
or
Bolt
works.
12 offer is not in of itself a channel. So you can have multiple channels on a node, and my Bolt 12 is just a protocol whereby Ocean reaches out to a Lightning node and says, hey, can you give me a Bolt 11 invoice back? And then it does, and then we try and pay them, and the payment fails, because it's always just, everything fails on Lightning.
Well, like the thing is though, like you get sats from the block in your Coinbase output.
Yeah.
And then you have to fund a channel that can route to the Lightning node. And like, it's just like Bitcoin doesn't really, I don't know how that works.
It doesn't.
Well, no, to be
Because
fair,
they have to have inbound liquidity to their
Yeah.
node to make
Yeah.
that payment go through.
they do. I mean, we are stress testing Lightning beyond all manner. So, like, I'll be candid with you, it is not encouraging. And again, like I said, there's this meme that developers don't use their own software. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really like, I do know far too many Lightning devs that just use Phoenix. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why? Can't you make your own thing work properly? But here's the thing. When Ocean makes a round of payment, after we find a block, we have like, 800 guys to pay over Lightning.
Right.
Every single payment takes like 2 minutes. So we spend like 5 hours trying to make Lightning payments, and if they fail, they take as long as you can possibly imagine before the Lightning node gives up and then goes on to the next thing.
Oh no.
Parallel payments aren't a thing in Lightning yet, and they have to be for
I mean,
all these services to work.
There is a Core Lightning Prism, I think. Have you looked into Prism at all? Okay.
No.
That might actually, I mean, I'm sure Chris Guida would be able to help you with that. Also, because I think that Lightning payouts would be a really huge deal, like if you could get them to work reliably. And There's also, maybe the possibility of using Arc. Have you heard about or looked into that at all?
You mean like covenantless Arc or the CTV theoretical Arc or?
Well, like Arcade OS and stuff, like the kind of stuff that they have, like, no, okay. Basically a covenantless Arc, yeah. I think they have, I mean.
That's Tiero's thing, right? Is he? part of that?
I know Alex Berge is working on that. There's also Stephen Roos.
Yeah.
There's 2 companies actually now that are working on Arc that could maybe potentially. I think that might be a bit more reliable, but that might be worth investigating as well. But I mean, I think like the future of mining payouts is to get paid out in layers, and I like that Datum is at least trying to move the ball forward on that in ways that nobody else in the Bitcoin industry is even giving any thought to. So I have to give you my kudos for
Appreciate it.
trying to solve that hard problem.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I really like how he opened up with how does that work, and you said it doesn't. That's great. At least we're honest.
Very,
We gotta
it's
give
very
these-
clunky.
We got to give these people a hard time, right? Like El Salvador adopted Bitcoin, a country like onboarded and like it was all Lightning, and I'm just like, these people need to like not get like the whole problem Start OS is solving in the first place is inertia of the fact that all the server side infrastructure of our planet was done by big data platforms, and trying to overcome that inertia with saying, hey, you got to do it yourself. It'll be less convenient. But it's like, it's just, it's really difficult. So if you onboard people onto Lightning and they're all using Phoenix or Moon or stuff like that, I'm like, you'll never break that habit. So we need to get this stuff as good as possible today. So when I see developers that are like, oh, I just use Phoenix, I'm like, seriously? Like, I'm so, like, I use Ocean. I have skin in the game. When Ocean launched, I was like, oh, I have to be a miner now. So I mined and make sure I get paid out. And like, because it just, like, look, I love Luke. I love Jason. Those guys don't mine. And I'm like, you're going to miss stuff about what it's like mining on Ocean if you don't actually do it yourself. So I'm like, I have to mine on it, and I'm going to hit something that's going to really annoy me that you're going to be like, who cares? Just click that. I'm like, I shouldn't have to click that. That was a stupid oversight. Fix it. And I'm sick of devs that don't use their own software.
Yeah. Eating your own dog food is really important. So like at Start9, it's kind of the mantra, right? I mean, Start9 as a business runs on 2 server peers. And our software costs for a company that employs in one capacity or another over 20 people and has customers and vendors and all the rest, that's usually going to add up to a decent monthly software bill for all the various SaaS products. Our monthly software bill is negligible. It's a couple $100. And it's because we're self-hosting all of our infrastructure, all of our chat servers, all of our e-commerce websites, everything, right? Like, I shouldn't say all. Like, there's exceptions here because we have to be practical and get there, right? But for the most part, whenever possible, we use our own technology. And if the technology is not ready yet, we deal with it. Like, we wait. Right? For personally, I want my house to be totally automated. I can't wait to have a smart home, right? But I don't have a doorbell, a smart doorbell. We don't have smart thermostats. In fact, I took the batteries out of my front door, lock thing, because it could be programmed and unlocked with your phone. I just took the batteries out. Everything is disconnected. I have no smart devices because right now there's only 2 ways to have them. One is the Google devices that call home to Google, and they're basically just physical spy devices in your home. And the other way is to do it really technically. You have to find these open hardware products and then install these janky software products. And again, it works. You can do it, but it's a lot of effort. I'm refusing to do it. It's like, so what that means is it puts a lot of urgency on me to push StartOS forward to that future because I want these things very badly, but I will not give them to myself until I do it, build a way to do it easily and without trade-offs, without sacrifice.
Let me talk, I had a dream, come true in this whole approach of, self-sovereignty and self-hosting. Worked at Star9 years ago. It was always, I want to use Zeus or a mobile wallet like that. Zeus is my favorite wallet, but I want it to connect to my own Lightning node. That was the dream. But the only way to do it was connect it to some onion address, which would mean you open the app and it takes like 40 seconds.
Oh
to
my
load.
God, I remember.
Already, like, that's not going to, like, already a dev might be like, oh, it's slower because of Tor. I'm like, no, it's unusable because of Tor. Like, again, so I'm just like, I need a .com, I need my own domain, and I need to reach out to that. So I'm running 040, right? It's an alpha version of it, but it's solid. So all I did, I bought a domain, I set up DDNS to point it to my house, and I forwarded a port on my home router after setting a static IP for the thing. All of this is new, none of it's difficult. And AI exists, so just go to Grok or ChatGPT and be like, how do I set up DDNS? This is my router, and it'll tell you how to do it. And it's fun. And here's the thing, so I just have my domain, call it mechanic.com, and I just set up a subdomain, lnd.mechanic.com, open up Zeus, point that to that domain, lnd.mechanic.com, with the port, like it's 4198 something or other. Now I open my Zeus and it's like, click on the button, pow, there's my Lightning node. And that feels exactly the same as having like custodial Lightning with a trusted third party. It feels like the same experience, but it's my own Lightning channels going through my own Bitcoin node underneath the Lightning node. That was the dream, and it's finally here. And I love it. I'm so stoked about it. Like, I don't know if I'm just weird like that, or if anyone else would doing this would be like, this is it. I have like
Total control.
it's like this is my, and I went to El Salvador and like used it for everything I was paying for. I paid at the end of my trip in El Salvador, I paid the entire hotel bill, including all of the meals and all. It was like $8,000. I paid it over Lightning and paid 9 sats as a transaction fee. 9 sats for a transaction fee. I had like a channel with Bitfinex, which has like, you know, the lowest possible routing. I was like, that was it. Like, and there's no one knows that happened. It was Lightning, right? Like Lightning is very private, so no one even knows that transaction occurred. So I'm just like, this is freedom money, dude. Like, and if I'm using like an LSP, like a Lightning provider that does all, and you connect to them, and they're a trusted third party, they're going to get deputized. They are the Google of the money. If Bitcoin is the internet of money, then all the LSPs and all the wallet providers and people that run the Electrum servers and all that, they're the big data platforms of Bitcoin. So break away from the dependency as soon as possible. Otherwise, we'll never get past the inertia.
One more question, and then we're going to start wrapping up, and then we'll do our giveaway too. So take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, on and off. Had to reboot the mic. Wanted to say thank you for this. I really did get a lot out of it. I came to learn about mining, which I don't know anything about, right? And so it's good to get a foot in the door. And I'm also a Start 9 guy, right? I've been fighting with the Alpha 9 and then just moved to Alpha 11, and I'm not being very successful. I just went back to 3.5 in order to go back to Cloudflare tunnel in order to try and get BCP paper. So here my point is that it's been a couple of months now, me trying to put this together, and I'm still not there. So, and I'm not stupid, but I'm also not, there's something that's missing. And you know, as far as seeing, like what he just talked through, right? These are actually the literal things that I'm working through too. And a lot of talking to ChatGPT and not knowing if it's alpha or if it's what. So anyway, here's my question. When do we get this dang version of the software?
Oh man! All right. So okay.
Soon, TM.
Two things. Okay. If you're not really technical, you should not be using alpha unreleased versions of a novel beta operating system. Okay, like you're just gonna have a bad time. Like there's bugs. It wasn't you. It's buggy. Okay, that's why it's not released yet. So good thing that you went back to the 351. Second thing is using AI is not going to work very well for you. And the reason for that is because what we are doing is not well documented. It's going to give you the old school Linux ways of doing things. It's going to be like, oh, well, if you can't connect, you need to go on the command line and do the. It's like, no, use our docs and only our docs until we can properly train these AIs, right? In time, we will figure out what's it called now? Not SEO, but the new way. Okay, anyone who has a business in here, I forgot the acronym, but take this seriously immediately because we are. It's something that really just, I had an epiphany a couple of days ago.
Like AI optimization, training it intentionally.
Wait, training all of them. right? Because they're scraping the web and stuff like that. So you need to know how to design your documentation and your websites and your e-commerce sites and all of that, because Google, like traditional Google, traditional search is done. Like SEO has now given way to the way humans are going to interact with the internet is through the AIs. So if the AIs know everything about you and think you're great, it's going to result in awareness and sales. If you're invisible or they don't think you're great, people are going to either not find you or hate you. So optimizing the AIs to know about you and your business and to show it in the best light is this whole new industry that's about to be born. There's going to be professionals everywhere selling this as a service. So get on it now before others do, and you'll have priority positioning with the AIs. That said, we're not there yet. If you go to AI and start asking about StartOS and Start9 and bugs, it has no idea what it's talking about.
Yeah, just don't do it. Speak to the support.
So here's the deal. 0351 works well, has a lot of shortcomings. The documentation is accurate. If you start fresh with 0351 and you follow the guides, it will work. If at any step along the way you run into an issue, we're here. Have we heard from you? Have you been in the...
No.
Okay, so this is...
I have my own server, right?
Right.
I just download the software, so I don't have a support account.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I'm, I'm pretty technical, so it's not like I can't figure things out left and right. Some of it's just, it ain't working, right?
Yeah, so we have free support, right? So we're a business, right? And we have people who are providing the support, and we have to pay them. And so it's part of our business model to effectively sell support. And you get it free if you buy a server, but otherwise you can buy it. However, we are dedicated to not leaving everyone else behind, right? We're not just like, well, you're totally on your own. It's just a different forum. So what you should do is if you run into any issues whatsoever, go to community.start9.com, and that is our community forum where you can post an issue or ask a question, and it will get answered by the very same people who are in the immediate chats. It's just priority 2. So the responses usually come within like an hour or 2 hours instead of 3 to 5 minutes, which is our SLA for customer support for paying customers. So an hour is not that bad to ask a question and get an answer. It's just not 3 minutes either. So that's where you should go to get help. Okay.
Sick.
Yeah, I also want to say that on the mining piece, I didn't know what you just said about there's a datum server and I can actually hook that up. So I opened up a whole world. I'm like, okay.
It's really cool. You can just play the lottery in your house and nobody knows you're playing it. And if you win, nobody knows you won.
That's awesome.
Right? Like,
Unless you write
You're
your
not
name in the
gonna win,
Coinbase, which you
right?
can do.
Yeah, yeah.
to be clear, you're not gonna win. Just
Awesome.
there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
You
Real
can
quick,
go on
before
a-
we wrap up, I do want to highlight some more events happening at the space before our next mining meetup. We have the Women in Bitcoin meetup happening right here. All these actually are happening here, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Our usual monthly Denver Bit Devs also. Oh, and before that, we have the Bitcoin Financial Summit next week, right? Yeah. Super excited about that. Apparently, I'm doing stand-up there. I didn't know. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how it happened in Vegas either. And then also Bitcoin and beer on that Friday, November 7th. Every Friday we're out here chilling, Come on out. You can find all of our events at that QR code and on denver.space. And as always, thank you to Easy Entrees and Silver Spoon Catering. Was that not the greatest meetup food anyone's ever had? I'm blown away every single time, and I love them for it. And this wouldn't be the Compass Mining Bitcoin meetup. I'd mess that up unless it was a commercial. Check out our marketplace and our hardware hosting on compassmining.io. There's some, people sometimes don't want their machines. You can get them for $1. I legitimately got an S19 for $1 that was hosted in Nebraska. And you can too. Next month, we will be having Phil Gardner from MBA Energy talking with us about energy. And Brian and I have been talking with him, and it's going to be a really fun one. We're going to get back into the energy side of things. That's always really fun whenever we have those. I think it was 2 months ago or a month ago. There's an energy talk that I did not think I'd be into, and I was like, wait a second, this is actually interesting as hell. And wait a second, what is this? Oh my God, that wasn't the right button. Giveaway time.